Hello friend, welcome back to Acre Homestead. We are outside, which is glorious. Today is beautiful. Yesterday we had an inch of snow and today it's supposed to be beautiful. So Josh and I are going to work on a project outside today on his lunch break. But before we can do that, I need to go into town, or I get to go into town, and we are going to go shopping for some seed potatoes and some cold weather crops. And we're going to spend some time in the garden for the first time together working out in the garden, and I cannot wait. Another thing we're going to be doing, unfortunately for the chickens, not for me, is Josh and I are going to be building a chicken run for them so that they can't do what this chicken is doing right here, right now. She is laying an egg on my patio furniture. They can't make messes on my front deck, my back deck, and they can't pull out all the plants that we are going to be putting in the garden. So it is their time to have a chicken run built so that we can have peace of mind that all the work we put into the garden is not going to be destroyed by the chickens, and we can have a clean place on our front deck and back deck. Since I'm going into town, we need to take these recycling to the recycle center. Josh and I, between those 3 weeks and or so of snow, our recycle wasn't picked up, and then Josh and I both got head colds. We forgot to put our recycling out. So our garage has been filled with tons of recycling, and it's free in our transfer station if we take our recycling. And so instead of just waiting 1 week after another to get this recycling out of our garage, I'm gonna go, since I have to drive by it anyway, I'm gonna go take the recycling to the recycling place on our way into town to go buy some starts and some seed potatoes. Purchasing seed potatoes and getting my potatoes in the ground always feels like the start of garden season for me. There are plants that I could be putting in the ground before then. I could have had peas and kale and some other cold weather things in the ground before, but we just haven't had the time to get there yet. So today feels like the mark of garden season. We are also going to look for some cold weather crops because I didn't have total success starting all my cold weather crops. We had some success, but some things just didn't work out. So we're going to get some of those. And then we're also going to look for some different inspiration for planting out the green stock. I have some ideas in my mind what I would like to do with my green stock, but I want to see what the greenhouses have to offer. We got that chore done. It feels so good to get all of that out of our garage. It's just been building up for a few months. It's just one of those things that it didn't take that much time to deal with it, but it just seemed like a mental block. And now that we got that done, we get to go do the fun part. We get to go shopping for potatoes. Now, friends, this is my kind of candy store. I love coming to the greenhouse. I spent a little bit more time in here than I was intending because I was just having fun looking at all the fun things. But I did come here for a mission, and that is to get some potatoes. Now, there are two different kind of varieties of tomatoes. Not necessarily varieties. There's hundreds of different varieties of tomatoes, but there's two different categories of, did I say tomatoes? I meant potatoes. There are indeterminate potatoes and determinate potatoes. And it's good to know what variety you're growing because you want to manage them as they grow different. So a determinate variety of potato grows to a determined size. You plant it, it grows, it produces potato where you planted it, and you don't need to do any hilling. And then there are indeterminate varieties of potatoes. Those are the varieties of potatoes that when you put them in the ground, they grow and they're going to produce potatoes where the dirt is around them or the soil. But as they grow, you want to continue to keep burying the potato plant because it will continue to put out runners and continue to grow more potatoes the more you bury it. So you might hear people talking about hilling potatoes, and that's what they're doing. They're constantly burying the potato plant so it will continue to send out, I don't know what they're called, but send out whatever they send out to then grow the potatoes. But you only want to do that to the indeterminate varieties because they will continue to grow and produce potatoes as you hill them. The determinate varieties won't do that. So you plant them in the ground, they grow, and they're going to produce potatoes where they are planted. Because I'm going to be growing these potatoes in raised beds and I'm not going to be hilling them, I am only growing determinate varieties of potatoes. My mom has a smaller growing space and she wants to try to grow more vertically. So she wants to grow indeterminate varieties of potatoes so she can kind of grow potatoes that are going to grow up, and she can keep hilling them, putting dirt on them, and then they will continue to produce potatoes in a more vertical fashion. Now I am growing in a raised bed and I don't plan to hill them, so I'm going to grow my determinate varieties. And I grab a couple different varieties. I'll go over the different varieties when we plant them. My dad ends up helping me plant the potatoes out, which is a great help. But I'm marking on each bag what the potatoes are so that I know when I go to plant them what I'm planting. I am not going to be planting this year any purple potatoes. I love the look of purple potatoes. They're super, super fun, but I have noticed over the last 3 years growing potatoes, when I go to cook potatoes, I never grab the purple potatoes. I just don't think they're as appetizing looking when they're cooked. A purple mashed potato, to me, just doesn't, it's not as appetizing. So I always go for the white potatoes or yellow potatoes. So I know that I should not be purchasing and growing any purple potatoes because I don't end up eating them. And they look really weird if you can them too. So even though they're fun and beautiful, I'm not planting purple potatoes. I'm going through these potatoes and I'm looking for potatoes that already have some eyes that are growing, and I'm looking for potatoes that don't have any big cuts or gashes in them, and I'm looking for kind of a medium-sized potato. It's called, I think, chit-ing potatoes. It's where you cut the potato and you can get 2 seed potatoes from 1 potato. I don't do that. I've planted potatoes like that. I've done whole potatoes. I just prefer to do the whole potato because it's one less step. So because I'm buying these potatoes at $1.50 a pound, instead of buying a bunch of bigger potatoes that I'm going to then cut in half, I just went through and looked for potatoes that were smaller, that I would just plant 1 potato at one time. And here I'm looking at carrots and some different varieties of vegetables. I would encourage you to put in Google what is best to direct sow versus using a start. Carrots, beets, beans, corn, peas, lettuce, spinach. Those are just a handful of crops that do better if you direct sow them instead of purchasing starts. Now there are some varieties of things that starts are necessary, things that take longer to grow. Most places in the US do not have long enough growing seasons to direct sow a pepper, tomato, eggplant. And so getting a jump start by purchasing a start or starting it yourself, you're going to prolong or get a harvest out of that. Let me know if making a whole dedicated video to that topic would be helpful, and I could do that. We got our potatoes, huge accomplishment. I just talked to my dad on the way down here, and he mentioned that he might be able to come help me in the garden tomorrow, which would be fantastic. My dad does end up coming and helping us plant out the potatoes, which is a huge blessing. But for now, we are still shopping, and I am shopping for a deal. These petunias were on sale for $2 for a 6-pack. I attempted to try to grow my own petunias from seed, and I had 1 germinate. So I am going to take advantage of this sale, and I'm going to pick up some petunias, and I'm also going to pick up some pansies. Now, I need to keep in mind that my last frost date when I'm picking these plants up is not for another 2 weeks. Petunias are frost tender, so I am going to get these, and then I'm going to have to baby them in my grow room until I can plant them out. One of my goals for these petunias is to plant out one of my green stalks 100% in petunias. I've been dreaming about this since last year. Last year was the first year I grew petunias, and they're probably one of my favorite flowers now. And then I also, while I was here, I picked up some pansies. Pansies are cold hardy, and they are a perennial in my area, so I can get those planted out as soon as I have time. So now that we are done with that store, we're heading to the next store, And this is Wilco. It's our local, it's kind of like Tractor Supply, but it's our local version of them. I think they're only in a couple states on the West Coast, but they also have some veggie starts. And so I look to see what they have to offer here. I'm looking at some flowers. I'm trying to get some ideas for my green stock. They happen to have a sale going on right now, so I have fun taking a look and just enjoying to see what they have. I've been following a couple different flower farmers on YouTube. You all know that. And I definitely love that I understand more flower varieties just from watching and gleaming information. So a bunch of these flowers I had never heard of. I mean, these are petunias, but some of the other ones I look at, I had never known about. And now that I've watched some flower farms on YouTube, I actually am like, oh, I recognize that name. And so I have fun looking at them. And look at those marigolds. That is a beautiful red color. Orange marigolds are not my favorite, but that red, I think those are called fireball varieties of marigolds, and they're absolutely stunning. So I'm just having fun looking. And then after I look at the flowers, I take a look at what veggie starts they have. Currently, when I'm shopping, it is too early to plant out anything that is frost tender, like tomatoes and peppers, but it is okay to plant out cabbages and cauliflower. So I do need to pick up a few of these because some of the ones that I had started failed. My ultimate goal, and this is going to be a lifelong goal because it will take me years and years to get to this point, but I would love to be able to start all my own starts. The cool thing about starting your own starts is you have a lot of control over the varieties, and it is more cost effective once you have the investment of the grow lights and the heat mat and the everything you need to start seeds. But I'm not there. It's taken me 4 years to get to the point where this year I have started all my own peppers and tomatoes, and some other things, but I am nowhere near starting my own. So I am going to take the help from greenhouses to help plant out the rest of my garden. We are no less gardeners if we have to get the help from greenhouses. It's a lifelong journey to become a gardener. Wilco is having a good sale right now. It's buy two, get one free. And I was about to take up the offer and get some stuff for my green stock. I was going to get some begonias and also some, what are these? Marigolds, because I really like these fireball ones. And what else do I have in my cart? That's it. This is what I have in my cart. Today is April 13th. These plants are the best price here compared to the first nursery we went to, but this sale goes through the 23rd, and I'm not going to be planting my green stalks out probably until about the 23rd. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these plants back right now. I'm going to get my cabbages and my broccoli and cauliflower because those I can plant out right now in the garden, but I can't plant these ones out yet because it's still a little too early. So I'm going to put these back, and hopefully they will still be here when I come in about a week and a half or 2 weeks, and we will go ahead and take advantage of this sale. We are just going to let the nursery and Wilco take care of these plants so that I don't have to. And I will make sure I come back and take advantage of these sales in a couple weeks. So we're gonna put those back. We're gonna get these. You know what I hear? I hear chickens. We are not in the market to buy any chickens right now, but goodness, it's tempting. As tempted as I was by the chickens, I did not get any chickens. They also had turkeys there, which I think it'd be really fun to have turkeys. A couple of my neighbors have turkeys, and they're absolutely beautiful. I love driving by and seeing them. And so maybe one day we'll have turkeys, but not today. I will need to get some more chickens, but I probably am going to wait until next year. We definitely need to have a better coop setup situation for them and a run and all of those things before I bring any more chickens onto the homestead. But it's fun to look anyway. And so here we are getting the supplies we need to head back up and build this run for the girls. I'm really excited to get working on a project with Josh again. It's definitely been too long since we have worked on a project together, and I'm excited about it. We are all loaded up. It's amazing how things just take longer than expected. They did not have the 5-foot wire, so we went with 6 foot. That's what we had at the last house. We'll be able to make a nice secure chicken run for the chickens. This is going to be a temporary / long-term solution. I eventually we will have we're gonna move them, we're gonna have a different coop and all that stuff, but this is going to be a really good solution for probably, honestly, I want to say it's temporary, but it'll probably be a year or two. And so it'll be good, it'll be functional, it'll keep the girls nice and safe. I'm gonna head back and we are going to build this run with Josh. All right, I'll see you back at the homestead. What I'm out here looking for is the T-post clip attacher. I don't even know what it's called. We got one when we were building, oh, here are all the T-post clamps. I got a bunch more of those today, but those come free when you get T-posts. Oh, I know exactly where it was at the last house, and I don't know where it is here. So Josh and I will have to do some more digging, but we definitely need this T-post pounder. I just got home and now I'm so excited to fill all these pots. I'm gonna fill all these terracotta pots at some point with some flowers in the garden. We have all of these T-posts. These ones are too short for what we're doing, but I'm gonna use these in the garden. These were T-posts that had the fencing from the fencing that the previous owners had for the backyard, and so we're definitely going to use those, but just unfortunately they weren't long enough for the project we're going to do today. And then these ones, if we need a few extra, these ones are long enough, so we can use those if we need to. I wanted to come in and get dinner going before I grab Josh so we can go start building that chicken run. Yesterday I made some taco soup and I just had it in the crock pot. We let it cool and then Josh stuck it in the refrigerator for me, right in the crock pot liner. So I'm gonna go ahead and just get this warming so that when it's dinner time and we're hungry, I don't have to worry about cooking after running around, and then now hopefully we can finish this project. Today it is 1:57. I've got a meeting at 5 o'clock, so I don't know if we will be able to finish it, but I want to try to finish it. But I know that I'm not gonna have time to cook dinner. So we're gonna get this, I'm gonna put this on high because it's cold and I didn't quite cook long enough yesterday. So we're gonna get that and I'm gonna go get Josh and we are gonna go build this chicken run. For a little bit of motivation, while we make the chicken run, I'm going to cut up a few of these s'more cookie bars. I forgot to link this recipe in the video where we made them together for the first few hours that it was up. So if you missed that recipe, I'm going to go ahead and link it in this video so that you can make these yourself if it's something you'd like to try. So this morning I said, looked like she was laying an egg. Well, she did lay an egg. That little stinker. We have finally made it down here. I feel like it's taken us all day to get down here. This is a huge step. So this currently is where the chicken coop is. When we moved in, we weren't sure where we were gonna put them, and just this is where they ended up. Now, permanently, in our long-term goals, we are gonna put the chickens up here on this hill. This is a hill up here. We ran water and a conduit for electricity, and long-term, I want the chickens up on this ridge all the way in here, and I want to build this whole flat area. I want to fence in, and then I want to fence in down the forest area so they have a huge area that's covered and uncovered. But right now, this is where they are. Josh and I have gone over and over, should we move this coop up onto the hill where they're eventually going to be, or should we keep it right here? This is a coop Josh built 3 years ago. My chickens are 3 years old. I still have the same chickens that I've had since I got chickens. And this coop was definitely a learning experience. There's things that we like about the design and there's things that are absolutely totally not functional about the design. When we first built this coop, the idea was it was going to be mobile and we were going to move our chickens all around our property. Well, this coop is way too heavy to move. I mean, we can move it, but it's a huge pain. Currently, there's no wheels on it. We can't keep wheels on it all the time because then critters could get up, like predators could get up into it. So anytime we want to move it, we have to lift it up and put the wheels on, and it's a whole thing. And so we only moved it a few times at the last house. And then we realized a mobile coop is not what's functioning well for our family. So we want to eventually, when we get the setup over here, we are going to build a new coop with a better design than this one. This one is very difficult to keep clean. So when we go to build a coop, we'll build it together and we'll go over, kind of what to make it more functional. But for now, I'm really happy we have it. And so what we're going to do, I think, instead of moving the coop, is we're just going to build a run off this coop when Josh gets down here. And it'll just be a temporary / permanent thing. So like I said, this will probably live here for a year, maybe 2 years. But knowing that long term we want them up there, but we can only do so many projects at one time. And right now the garden is the top priority. That's where we're investing our time and resources. And so we are trying to make something more functional for us overall, so the chickens aren't, one, laying eggs all around the property. They're not making messes all around the property. And those plants that I just purchased and I've been growing out in my grow room for 6 weeks, when I put them in the garden, these girls are not going to be able to enjoy them as a snack. So Josh just grabbed a myriad of tools. We found the T-post. What is this called? Anyway, I'll show you how this. I'll show you how this works.
Wire hook or something.
This feels like our normal. I'm really excited to finally be working on a project with Josh again. It feels like it's been a long time because it's been, I don't know, 4.5 months maybe since we've really worked on a project together. And this is kind of our normal. Josh and I bought our first home a few months before we got married, and we spent about 1.5 years not working on that house at all. But then after that, we spent the next 4.5 years remodeling that entire house. And that's kind of our normal, is working on projects together. And so after becoming a family of 3 and learning to get into that routine, projects needed to take a little bit of a back seat. And now that we've got a good routine down, we can get back into the swing of things, and hopefully we can just get back into working on projects together, and something we really enjoy doing together. There was definitely, when we first got married, a learning curve on our different personalities and figuring out how best we work together. There were some hiccups in the road along the way with that, but we figured it out, and now it's one of our favorite things to do. So what we're doing with this chicken run is, you might notice that Josh is taking the T-posts and he's lining them in kind of a circular fashion around the chicken coop. And so this coop has been built now for about 3.5 weeks. And so there's some things that I really like about how we built this run. And there's some things that if I was to do it again, we probably would have done it a little bit different. And those are kind of two of the same thing. So we wanted to build it in a circular form because circles with this wire that we purchased is a lot easier to manage. So if you watched us at our last homestead, we built a chicken run and it was a rectangle shape. And when you build the rectangle shapes, the corners need to have these wooden posts in the ground to secure it. And that is more of a permanent type structure. This is a semi-permanent structure. It's going to be super durable as we need it for the next year and a half or so. But when we want to take this down, it's going to be super easy, and we can repurpose the fencing, we can repurpose the T-posts, but we don't want to invest so much time into this that it's more of a permanent structure, because we know that it's not going to be here long term. So we do a round run because that's just a lot easier. This fencing is 100 feet. So we did want to make sure that we maximized and used all of it, and we didn't want to cut as little off of it as possible. So that is what we're working on. Josh is kind of going around, and now he's going to set the T-post. Now, one of the things that I probably would have done differently is maybe put the chicken coop in the inside of the run instead of using the chicken coop as part of the fencing. And I really like that we did it this way because of how the door situation ends up working. But what happens is the chickens can hop up on top of the chicken coop, and then they can hop on out. I got 6-foot fencing and they can't hop 6 feet, but the chicken coop itself is only 4 feet, I think, and they have no problem hopping 4 feet. And so it's just kind of funny that they're able to get out. So I do end up solving that problem, not on this day, but I will show you how we end up solving that problem in the future. So this is Josh and I sitting here talking about how we're going to use this door, and this works really well. So this is one reason why I am happy about using the coop as part of the fence, because we end up using the coop door as the chicken run door as well. So at night, I can close the girls up in the chicken coop, closing this door. And then in the morning, I can let them out by opening this door. We're just talking through it here. And that's how I can get in and out of the run. And I can also use that to secure the girls at night from predators. So it's kind of the thing that I like about the coop is also the problem with the coop. And so if we were to do it again, would I do it different? I don't know, because I do like it. But because of the coop only being 4 feet, I do have to come up with a way to stop them from hopping out where the coop is. But we come up with a good solution, and I'll show you that in upcoming. So this chicken run, a thing about having chickens in a chicken run is they're not going to be having, all the property to get greens and eat bugs, because in a matter of a few weeks, the girls will be able to clear out all that grass that's in there. They'll eat it all, and then there won't be any grass. So Josh is setting the T-post right now, so I couldn't really help him with that because we only have one T-post driver. So I thought it would be a good time to go ahead and do some chicken chores. And I clean the nesting boxes, I collect the eggs, and I get them fresh food and water while I'm waiting to be able to help Josh again. So back to the greens. So the girls aren't going to be able to free range because I don't want them making messes on my porch, and I don't want them eating my garden starts. So one thing that I have been looking into is growing fodder for my chickens. I've never done that before because last summer I wanted to do it, but we were in the middle of getting this homestead ready to move into and getting the other homestead ready to sell. Plus it was harvest and I was pregnant. So growing fodder for the chickens kind of fell down the wayside. But now that they're going to be in this run for most of the time, I will, once we have a fence around the chicken, or once we have a fence around the garden, I will let them out to free range here and there on nice days, because the reason they were making such big messes on my porch was because it's a covered porch. And so when it was raining or snowing, they really enjoyed hanging out on my covered porch. But if I let them out of this run to free range when there is a fence around my garden, they aren't going to want to spend a lot of time on my porch. They're going to have fun running around the property collecting bugs and stuff like that. But for the majority of the time, they are going to be in this run. And so I want to be able to get some greens in their diet. So I will be giving them any of the garden produce that gets overripe or any of the excess that we don't eat. I'm planning to plant a few plants just to feed the chickens with. So I want to grow a few extra cucumber plants, because cucumbers, I've had pretty good success growing cucumbers, and I can just give the excess to the chickens. And there's a couple other things that I'm thinking. I like to grow a bunch of kale for the chickens because that's probably their favorite. I give them any of the scraps, like when you harvest a cabbage, the outer leaves, I give them the outer leaves. But I want to be able to do more for them. And so I've been researching growing fodder, and I don't have much experience. I have zero experience, I should say, other than watching YouTube videos and reels about it. And so I just ordered some seeds to do that. I should be able to use my garden trays that I most of my plants currently, as I'm sitting here talking with you, are in the ground. And so I have almost all of my garden trays back. So I shouldn't need to buy anything to grow the fodder other than the seed itself. And I have that. It's just chicken scratch seed. And so I always have that on hand. And so I think I'm going to attempt that. So if you guys have any experience with that, any tips or tricks, things that you have really helped you with that, or things that you're like, oh, I wouldn't do that, please let me know. And then I also want to look into fermenting their food too, to help maximize their nutrition, just because they're not going to be getting as many bugs and grubs and different greens because they are going to be in the chicken run most of the time. So that's one thing I'm thinking about. And then another thing that we're going to do, not today because we don't have time today. This whole project only ends up taking us less than 2 hours, which was amazing. We put this project off for months and months because we thought it was going to take a long time, because when we built the chicken run at the last homestead, it took us 2 days. But that was a more permanent structure. And so this just took us less than 2 hours and it was fantastic. But we are going to build some different enrichment things, some different perches that they can jump up on in the run, some different areas that have some shade that they can get under. They can get under the chicken coop area to get out of the rain and to get out of the elements if they need to. And then half of the afternoon, this whole area is in shade because of those big trees. So there is, some areas for them to get out of the weather right here, but not enough that long term I want them to have a couple more, perches and an area that's going to be covered so that they can have a bigger dust bath spot. They've already made a dust bath area for them, but I want it to be covered so that if it rains, that dirt can stay dry. And here is me showing how this door works. It works fantastic. I am so excited that Josh had this idea of using the chicken coop door as the chicken run door. So it works perfect. We do end up having to do a few tweaks to make it chicken proof, but this was a fantastic way to spend an afternoon. So we have our makeshift door, but the problem is the chickens need to learn this situation tonight. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave this open, and Josh is going to secure this last T-post right here, and then we're going to leave this whole side open until tonight when they go in there at dusk. They figured out their feeder. So this is my favorite feeder. I've talked about this so many times. It's waterproof. You can put 60 pounds of feed in it, and so it just makes it so I only have to feed my 9 chickens about once every 6 weeks or 8 weeks or so. The sun feels so good. I probably will have to start feeding them more now that they're not going to be free ranging on the property. They get a lot of food right now by just free ranging on the whole property. But we're going to leave this whole side open tonight just to make sure, or just until dusk, to make sure they all get in the coop. And then tonight Josh will come and secure this last one so that they will then be in this beautiful chick run. Here they come.
This is so exciting, girl.
Oh, goodness. Here they are. Hey, sweet girls.
If we get them all in now, we might as well close it, right?
That's true. That's true. So we have 2, 4, 6. So there's 3 more that are wandering. So they know where their home is. It's just when you put a fence around it, they get a little confused sometimes.
But yeah, if they just had to get in that little hole.
Oh, now there's one more. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8. Oh, we have 9. No, we were missing another black one. Little Bo Peep. 2, 4, 6, 8. They're usually all pretty close to each other.
I mean, that door is wide open, so it could be a chicken in there.
They're not. She's not inside. It's kind of interesting. They all came down. So if there's 8 chickens here, the other one is not far behind. So here comes Little Bo Peep. She's the one that was attacked by our old neighbor's dog, and she had a lung puncture. She had a puncture through her wing. Her wing is kind of wonky, but she has no problems. If you missed that story, we don't know if our neighbor's dog got into our yard or if our chicken got into our neighbor's yard. Probably that's what happened. Yeah, because we only had a 4-foot fence, and so I think she just hopped over into the neighbor's yard. Got attacked by the dog. It was a golden retriever. That's what they do. And the neighbor, Josh was working from home. neighbor came over and was like, I think your chicken is dead in our yard. So Josh goes over there and he realizes the chicken is not dead. So he scoops her up. This is her coming. She's totally fine. This is 2.5 years later. She's got a broken wing, a punctured lung, and Josh could see into her lung. He quickly Googled what to do. Google said, this is what happens when dogs attack birds. They get a punctured lung. So you clean it out, you super glue it, the lung tissue, you super glue the skin, and you keep it clean, and you hope that everything's okay. 2.5 years later, she lived in our master bathroom for 2 months while she recovered, and she's totally fine. We thought we were gonna have to build a special coop that she could get up in because her one wing is kind of wonky, but she's had no problem. She lays eggs, she's part of the family, and here she comes. So I think we're gonna go ahead and just close this up because they are all in here now. So let me get her in here. Come on, sweet girl, you're going the wrong way. Go down there, go, go. Well, we have 8 of the 9 in here. I chased little Bo Peep and she was panting because I don't think she can, I didn't want to keep chasing her. So we got 8 in here. I will keep an eye out for her. I will make sure she gets in here tonight. She will come and wander down here tonight, and I can just open the gate. I think she'll wander right in. So Josh, because we have 8 of the 9, he did go ahead and just close off that area. And now the run, he's working on the last one, is officially done. So here they are.
I hear her on the deck.
Oh, she's on the deck. Josh said she's up there somewhere. She's probably gonna watch from above. Josh said she had to get one more mess out on the deck before she would be locked up. She's gonna stick it to us for having them go in this run. So they have a spot under there they can get under for shelter, but I probably will build some sort of, sorry if you can hear my neighbor mowing. This is the first nice day in a long time. Some sort of like fun activity centers, like perches and stuff for them to get on. But for now, this is good. This is gonna keep them protected. My dad, I think, is gonna come over tomorrow and we're gonna start planting out in the garden. And like I said, long term, we're gonna end up putting them up here. But for now, we've got this. So we thought we came up with a beautiful solution and not even 2 hours later, all the chickens were out. So what I think has happened is the girls, let me check to make sure they're in the coop now. I came down here and I opened the door because they just jumped out. And so I opened the door so that they knew how to get back in. I'm gonna count to make sure we have 9 chickens in here. Oh, look how cute. Hi, girls. Hi, did you outsmart us? You sure did. So we gotta count to make sure that we have all 9. All right, they are all in there. So what I think the problem was, well, one, Josh had this thought. This door is not very tall, so they could have either just jumped maybe from there out, because this is 6 feet. This is probably 3 feet. Or they jumped on the food and or the waterer, jumped up here, and then jumped out. So what I'm gonna do tonight to try to solve this problem is I am going to just move the waterer and the food farther away so that they can't jump. I'm not going to move the pavers yet. I will wait and see if this solves my problem. I don't think so, but we're going to give it a try. I am going to lock them up tonight so they're nice and safe. And then tomorrow I will come out here and I'll probably clip their wings, which is just like cutting your hair or your fingernails. It sounds horrible, but you just cut a few of their feathers. It makes it so they can't fly. Chickens can't really fly. They can kind of like hop. It makes it so they can't hop as high. So we got them locked up, and then I'll come down here at some point tomorrow, clip their wings, and then open that, and then we'll see if it works. So joke was on us. They outsmarted us.